slow, live it up, watching time go. Planning moves, staying solid to this cheat code. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. Live slow, live it up, watching time go. Making moves, staying solid to this cheat code. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. This how it is, the mission's Benjamins. And fuck the drama and the bullshit, we ain't little kids. My circle small, but my riders hard, they never quit. Get your money, keep it gangster, solid, straight legit. Never switch like the real ones that die for this. It's fucked up, but this is truly how it is. I hope you're ready if you're picking this like full of sin. No turning back, I'll represent my Vario to the end. Fuck the fakes and the snakes and everyone that hates. I'm not phased, I won't break, bitch, I'll never change.
You are now watching M.O.D. Entertainment.
Now, as we continue the list of all town varios, now for this one, we actually have to now make our way to the section that is known as New Mexico. Oh yes, New Mexico is definitely home to several barrios right here, you know what I mean? It definitely cries in New Mexico, don't ever get it twisted. But to be specific, we'll be heading to the area that is known as Albuquerque. Albuquerque is definitely populated, you know, with Hispanics, a lot of, you know, raza right here, you know, so with that, unfortunately, you're gonna have a lot of barrios, you know what I mean, because this area is, you know, it's filled with neighborhoods, black and Hispanic, you know what I mean, you got several sets right here, and one of these sets is a town barrio, you know what I mean, that are homeboys, you know, southerners, which is the barrio Brewtown Locals. The BTL, Brewtown Locals. Yes, Brewtown Locals, real neighborhood right here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's definitely a neighborhood that you hear about that has made actually the news several times. You already know for the usual, you know, because these guys are notorious. They're not as large, you know, as like some of the like LA gangs and stuff like that. Like I said, you know, so, you know, these areas, you know, obviously, you know, they're not going to be as big as, you know, Los Angeles because it's so jam-packed and you know, and compact right here. But don't ever get it twisted. These neighborhoods are definitely with the business, and they have the riders, at least from what I was told, is that the Brewtown neighborhood, you know, the Spiders, as they're called, they're roughly, well, at least what I was told, is that they're roughly about 60 to 65 members to this barrio. So a decent size, you know, for this area. This neighborhood has already been right here, you know, since the 80s, 90s that this neighborhood was established. About mid-90s, probably around there roughly. You know, homie didn't really have a specific date, but roughly around that time frame. And like I said, this is a real neighborhood, homie, that do real things for their barrio. And yes, they are red raggers, but they're homeboys. Like I said, you have several Sureño barrios that are like this, my boy. You know, I've been saying that. You know, there's all kinds of barrios that use, you know, the red bandanas. Just that homies, I don't know, they weren't paying attention, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that's what's up with the Brewtown Locals right there, definitely holding it down for theirs. Now, as we make our way back to San Diego, yes, San Diego. And here I thought I was finished with San Diego as well, you know what I mean? But apparently I'm not. And I ain't even gonna lie, I had no knowledge of this neighborhood. It wasn't until homie hit me up, you know, from that neighborhood and told me, hey, you forgot my barrio, made a few phone calls, you know, to verify. Not saying I don't trust homie, but you know what I mean? Just want to make sure, you know, that it's legit stories. And sure enough, it is, you know what I mean? So we have the Ramona Town Locals. Ramona Town Locals is obviously located right here in Ramona in San Diego, which is a little small area. You know, not that many people really hear, you know, much about the area. You know, and because of gentrification and all of that, you know what I mean? It's not like how it used to be. That's the thing, that, you know, how these areas look now and how the areas were back then is two different things. It's what people need to, you know, remember when they think about these areas, because they're like, you know, how could gangs exist in these kind of areas? We have to look at it from the point of view of like, well, who's to say that this area was always like this? You get what I'm saying? It could be that this area, you know, used to be all messed up before, and now, you know, they just, you know, modernized it or whatever. But like I have said, even though they make it, they can make it look nice and throw glitter on it, you know what I mean? If homies are still gonna roll up and post up, the homies are gonna still roll up and post up. I mean, it is what it is, you know what I mean? But this is a real neighborhood for that RTL, A very small neighborhood. I was at least told that they're roughly like about 50, like 40 to 50 members to this neighborhood. So a little bit more on the smaller side. Roughly started around the 80s, early 80s when this neighborhood was established, and continue to still have their homies that hold it down for their barrios, and still putting theirs on the map. You know what I mean? But that's what's up with the RTL, the Ramona Town Locals. And as we make our way back to the Imperial Valley, because there is, another neighborhood in the Imperial Valley that is a town neighborhood, not just the Ghost Town Barrio, but another barrio, you know what I mean, that's in this area. Now, in the Imperial Valley, this barrio is actually located in the Nyland area. The Nyland area, it's a place in the Imperial Valley, small little place, you know what I mean? You roughly don't hear about it as much, but nonetheless, homie, a real barrio, nonetheless, you know what I mean? And it is known as the Vario Any Town. Yes, Any Town is the name of the barrio. N obviously meaning, the letter N in Spanish, for Nyland. So they just refer to it as Any Town. So it has no relationships to the norteños or none of that. And homies from this barrio do get like the N tattooed on them, and they do call each other N and all that. You know what I mean? Like I said, there's just barrios that just do that. It's not strange for us to to hear this kind of stuff. It's actually quite normal for us. Maybe people like that come from like Northern California or areas like that, like they probably trip out, you know what I mean? But to us is, it's normal because, it's like, because this is how it's been for a long time. So, and now the Vario Any Town is roughly, a little bit more of the smaller side, you know what I mean? It's not as large as some of these like other barrios, but nonetheless, don't ever get it twisted. Homie, it be cracking right here. You know what I mean? They definitely, got theirs on lockdown. Because, the Imperial Valley is an area that is full of a lot of gangs. You know what I mean? You have so many different gangs. The Imperial Valley has like up to, like, I don't know, like 15 or 16 different gangs. Or even, maybe even 20. You know what I'm saying? That's how many neighborhoods are in the Imperial Valley. No joke. You know what I mean? It definitely be cracking right here. With raza, because there's a lot of raza that's located in the Imperial Valley, obviously, because of the work and stuff like that. So this is an area that definitely cracks, you know what I mean? And the Any Town is a barrio that's been holding it down, you know what I mean? Up here in Nylon, Now their territory is everything that's from Beale Road. Now Beale Road, so that's throughout, like 1st, Main, 3rd, 4th, all the way to North Zinger Road, and from North Zinger Road to where the 101 is at, and on the opposite end, they're all the way to Commercial Avenue. So everything that's in the middle is considered their barrio. So like I said, throughout Main, throughout 3rd, throughout 1st, all of that is considered their barrio. You know what I mean? Throughout International Boulevard as well, that slices through their barrio, and throughout Nylon Avenue is where you're able to find the Any Town. Like I said, real neighborhood that been right here in the Imperial Valley and continue to still be representing for theirs. The next barrio that we have on the list, we're still staying right here, maintaining right here in the Imperial Valley. Like I said, the Imperial Valley is just home to a lot of neighborhoods, and, a lot of neighborhoods that are town neighborhoods. Because these are just little, towns like, scattered out, you know what I mean? But they have several neighborhoods in them. Now, for this next area, we actually have to be making our way to the Westmoreland area. The Westmoreland area, where we're able to find the Vario West. Now, the Vario West is known as West Coco Tiny Town. West Coco's Tiny Town. You can see it up either way, Coco Tiny Town, Coco Town, just West by itself, just West, W-E-S-T, like that, so they have different ways of writing it, you know what I mean? And this barrio has already been right here for a cool minute. You know what I'm saying? These guys ain't no chumps. You know what I mean? At least from what I was told, that this barrio has been here since the 70s, my boy. So, hey, it's a pretty old school barrio. You know what I mean? You know, not that many people really think about, you know, these areas over here, but they get on and cracking. Like I said, homie, it wasn't just like Los Angeles where you're able to find, you know, this kind of activity. You know, you get activity over here, you know, también. You know, because even though they're like the largest gang right there, the main ones, doesn't mean that there's not other gangs that are around the area. You know what I mean? Because you do have several other gangs, you know, within the area. You know, you have the Chicali, you know, you also have the Chicali neighborhood. Not only them, you have the Broadlead neighborhood as well. And like I said, this barrio, now, at least from what I was told, it's up to 80 to 100 members to this barrio. You know what I mean? So, you know, a pretty large neighborhood when you're talking about these areas. You know what I mean? That in itself is already a big, you know, neighborhood. And they already been hit with all kinds of shit. You know, the Imperial County, you know, task force has thrown everything on these guys, souped them up and all kinds of shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, they still continue to maintain right there and still hold it down for theirs and their barrio. You know what I mean? For that West Coco's tiny town. Now for the next barrio on the list, we actually have to make our way down to the area that is known as Washington. Yes, we're on our way to Washington. Washington is an area where you're able to find a lot of Sureño neighborhoods. You know what I mean? There's a gang of them over here from Sur 13 to the Little Valley, Locotes, to all kinds of barrios. You know what I mean? And it is home to one of these, you know, town neighborhoods. You know what I mean? That's a homeboy neighborhood, you know, in this area, which is known as the Vario Sur Town Rascals. You know, STR. No, they have no connection, no relations to the rest of the Sur Town neighborhoods. Like I said, it's a common name you're going to be hearing here, you know, quite often. It's just, you know, it's a common name that people use, you know. Now, the Sur Town Rascals are a well-known neighborhood right here in Washington, throughout the area of Everett. You know, and I was at least told that this neighborhood is roughly about 72 members to it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, decent size, you know, for this area. And, you know, these guys are, you know, with the business, homie, you know, you see their hit ups, you see, you know, the reports, you know, you see them getting souped up, all kinds of shit, homie. This barrio, you know, actually be making noise. You know, it's one of the more, you know, recognizable neighborhoods, you know, within this area. And that it doesn't even have that long being up, you know, because at least from what I was told, this neighborhood was only roughly around since the 90s, early 90s. You know, when this neighborhood established itself, it kind of died out for a little bit, and then they made a comeback. And ever since then, you know, they just been there, you know, planted their flag and been representing, you know what I mean, and holding it down for the STR, which is the Vario Sur Town Rascals, holding theirs down.
Watching M.O.D. Entertainment. Make sure you like and subscribe.